Hello, my name's Karen Tonk. I'm a trainer assessor for Hayden Institute of Education. And tonight we're beginning our induction slides because it's our first session with CHCDFV001. So welcome everybody to Hayden Institute if you're starting to study with us tonight. I won't read the full acknowledgement of country because I'm about to read it with the class at the start of the class. But every class will start with an acknowledgement of country, which we would love for you to join in with us when we do the acknowledgement. Welcome. So this session is to take you through what the class structure is about, our expectations and our practices, what to expect when you're studying, assessments, bit of self-care and how you can get support from us. So there'll be a housekeeping slide that'll look similar to this, and it'll be at the start of every induction course and each unit at the start of every training session. It'll be discussing about break times, professional relationships, and getting your class participation. So this will come through tonight in detail. There's a philosophy of the course, and that is that it is self-directed, which means that we're looking for you to have your initiative. Adult learning, we're looking for self-directed and motivated internally. Obviously, you can bring some life experience and knowledge to your learning. We're looking at goal-orientated. And if we can just also have you manage different points of view professionally, because when we go through the course, other people will have different outlooks and different input. We're always of the learners and the teachers is to have role model professional practice, respectful relationships at all times, self-disclosure of your own stories, trauma or history for mental health or any trials or tribulations that you've had personally. We're going to actually keep that boundary as a professional boundary where we're not going to cross personal stories and disclose that. It is training, and we need to make sure that we actually stick to the training, the unit, and the assessments. So what we're looking at is intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic is how you're motivated to come from within. So look at getting yourself some encouragement and rewards, and that'll keep you motivated. External is maybe you can actually get a study buddy or someone to actually encourage you, or look at your office layout, anything that's external that can give you some motivation and encouragement. Start thinking about your mindset as well. We're looking for a growth mindset, which means that you have an open mind, an open heart, and you're open to new information and not so rigid and fixed in your viewpoint, because you will be given a large amount of new information. So we will like to invite you at different times to tell us all about yourself in the class, why you're there, what you hope to get out of it. We have light bulb moments at the end of the sessions where you can actually discuss your learnings and aha moments. So feelings, it's very normal to feel overwhelmed in a situation that's new and working and studying. So please just take care of yourself. We are all in this together and we're here to support you. So assessments will be varied methods. There'll be the class, there'll be discussions, there'll be breakout rooms where you'll have time outside of the class in smaller groups. There's role plays, projects, individual assessments, reports, a wonderful variety. Again, the assessment requirements, they are all set in the units. They are attached to the units. The assessment dates are there, but extensions can be given. We understand that you can need additional time for a variety of reasons, and learner support team is who you can actually reach out to and request an extension or a deferral. Referencing, we cannot have any other material that goes in unless it has a reference. So anything that you do take from the internet or another book or an article must have a reference, the name of the article, the source and the details, please copy and save your work. And the responsibility for time management and appointments is on the learner. Accelerate is the area where you'll find submissions, where you'll have your assessments. We have rolling enrolments, which means that learners all will be starting at a variety of different times, generally at the beginning of every start of each unit. So tonight we'll have quite a few learners beginning to start their course. Connecting with your trainer, you can make appointments through Calendly, and we can do some assessment academic support. If you're looking for learner support, referrals, you're looking for IT support for the system, basic questions can be also supported where it's not an in-depth assessment, but just 1 or 2 questions. lso@hayderinstitute.edu.au on the slide is where you can go for that. We're here to provide professional support in the safe learning environment. We cannot change the content, and the work and content can be triggering and confronting at times. So we do have trigger warnings at the start of every unit. Please look for additional information in your HADA Learner Handbook. Self-care is really essential while you're studying. So there's a variety of different self-care you can see there, for emotionally, socially, work, personal, spiritually. Please do start considering your self-care while you study. So I hope that you get to enjoy the night. We'll wait and get started very soon. Okay, not that one. Get someone in the waiting room. Okay. We're going to get it back now. There we go. We've done it. Good evening. My name's Karen Tonkin. I'm a trainer and assessor for Hayter Institute of Education, and tonight we begin session 1 of 3 for CHCDFV001. So I'll ask everyone to go who wishes to off mute, and please join me in the spirit of reconciliation. Hayter Institute of Education acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of this nation and the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, live and study. We express our gratitude for the sharing of this land of sorrow, the personal, spiritual and cultural culture that sharing, and hope that we may move forward together in harmony and in spirit of healing. We pay our respect to all First Nation people and acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. Thanks everyone. Love that to be a community. And our class community just expanded. Curtis is with us tonight. We have Genevieve, Joseph and Deborah coming on board as well. So welcome everybody. And what we have here is our slide. 2 people in the waiting room. Got to let them in. Breakout time, so class times rather, break time, we're going to aim for that 7:15 for 15 minutes. If you want to smoke or vape, please do take your screen off to black. Otherwise, please stay on screen so I get to see your beautiful face. Cameras on, participation. So Curtis, I'm not sure if you've used it before, but down the bottom you've got a love heart and a reaction. So people throw their hand up and then that's how we sort of contribute to the class. Massive trigger warning for this particular unit. So I do want to say to anyone who's either here tonight and has joined the class or is watching this on record in the evening. Evening is always tougher, whether it's a toothache, headache, or a psych ache, psychological aches. There's less distractions in the evening. Things just seem to be more intense and difficult to manage pain-wise. So emotional and physical pains can be really challenging. I'm going to suggest if you yourself do have some life experience with domestic family violence and abuse, Please consider whether it's appropriate for you to be doing this topic either in the class or on recording in the evening. It may be an early morning topic that doesn't land so difficult. Please do take care of yourself. Please exit the class if you need to, by all means. Microphones do stay on mute, but we'll get off mute at times. Respectful relationships, couldn't be prouder of this bunch. I really look forward to being with you all every week. We're professional, respectful, courteous. We're culturally sensitive as well. Please be kind to yourself so that you can enjoy the class and the company. If you are finding that you're having a difficult time, please do reach out, Lifeline 24/7, and I'll even assist you with study stress. It is just someone that you can have for support. So something that Hader has just started this week and asked is, if you can, they would prefer that you selected an image that had a professional setting and you popped it in as your background, again, for your classes or your role plays. So they're looking at wanting to see what you would see as a professional workplace. So that way, if you want, blur your background, that way we don't have all the bedrooms in and we can just become more business-like. If you want to, you can actually choose a background for yourself. Now, these are just expectations. These are not requirements. So it's just something that I have put together if you want to stick to the pace of the unit. So week 1, we've got class 1. And what you also, I'll just get anyone who's not on mute, please. Thank you. Week 1 is class 1. Task 1, you've got a series of questions. So in the slides tonight, if it relates to a question, I've actually written it in there, Q6. So please get your pens ready. We're going to answer a lot of the questions tonight. We're going to roll straight into role plays. There's 3 of them. So what we're wanting to do is do a role play tonight, next week, and the following Thursday night, and break it down. So role play assessments. This is the Zoom, which I can put in chat later on, the link. And what this is for, at the very end of the 3 weeks, we will be having at 10:30 on the Saturday. If you wished to do your role plays, if you haven't already done them either in class or videoed them yourself, because these are not needing to be with an assessor, you can do your own videos. And I'm going to actually train you tonight how to do that. But if you can't do that, your option is to come as a class on the Saturday the 24th at 10:30. I'll pop that in to the Zoom link into the chat. Please pop that in your diary. So we're going to kick off on session 1. But my idea was to now, starting this unit, give you session 1, 2, and 3 in an overview so you can know what the 3 nights are going to be. So this evening, our session 1, we will be discussing work practices. We'll be discussing the values and philosophies at that workplace. We're going to look at support processes this evening. We're going to look at the context of domestic family violence and touch on legalities. So I'm sure all of you are thinking, when are we going to get to gaslighting and coercive and control? Next week. So hold on to your hats. It does get a little bit juicy next week. I know that narcissism and all of the gaslighting is really trending at the moment. We're going to look at that next week. So session 2 next Thursday night is where we're going to understand the complexities. That's when we'll look into the gaslighting and the financial control. We're going to identify and understand the behaviours that we would see within the family. Then the last session, we would look at the rights and responsibility for the clients and ourselves in a work situation that is for domestic family violence, because it's uniquely different. We're going to really go another level at looking at what the client's needs would be. We will look at that today, but we'll look at it in detail week 3. We're going to look at their needs for assessment and how we would go about that, and then look more deeply about how we'd actually respond once we've identified what those needs are. So we've found out what they are, we're going to assess them, then we're going to respond and refer to get the needs met. So that heavy part of referral and bringing in other experts and other services is what's going to happen in week 3. So we just need to build up. So that's the plan, that's the direction and where we're heading. So coming back to an overview of session 1, what we mean by work practices in a nutshell is simply what work are you going to do? Who are you going to do it for? And that's what we'll explain tonight. Values and philosophies is how are you going to do that work? The support processes, what we're looking at there, and as you can see, we've got someone in the centre surrounded by little people. We're actually going to look tonight not just at our client, we're always person-centred, client-focused, and they are at the centre, and then we support them. This particularly in support processes, we're going to look at the support processes that are also in place for support workers, for people who are in there. Who's going to surround you? Who's going to be in your support circle is very important, because we need to touch on vicarious trauma, how you'll be affected. So when we do get to do the work practice, we are working in what is called a trauma-informed practice. And by that, it means it's strength-based. And we have 5 core principles. We've got safety, trustworthiness, choice, collaboration, and empowerment. And we're always respecting diversity. So we now then will look at the context, and that this evening will go into social, economical, we'll look at political, we'll look at a bit of history. When we touch on the legal and ethical this evening, we're going to touch on the duty of care, workplace health and safety, and being a mandatory reporter. So let's hook in and get into this. Let's begin with the type of work that you'll be doing. You'll always be working with assessments in every client situation, and those assessments will obviously be verbal assessments, there'll be written assessments, there'll be initial intakes. So we will be doing some of that work this evening in your role play. There is paperwork to be done, and we're going to do it together in the class, as homework. Individual casework is where you will be working with a particular person one-on-one, and that person may also be working one-on-one with their psychologist or other services. But community development work is where it's larger scale. That's where the work is in groups, it's in programs. You might work in an agency, you might work with a committee. You could take this work and work within the council or a larger organisation. So the work that you have is quite diverse, and it can actually be with quite large companies. Most of the work will always have referrals. You won't be working alone, you'll be working alongside other supports. So what we've got now is the discussion that we want to have is, I'd love to come back to the group and actually ask you, what type of clients are you expecting to be working with if you are working in the family and domestic violence sector? So what is your preconceived ideas, maybe your expectations, or maybe even your personal experience? So I'm going to come back to the group. Hi everybody who joined, Poojan, Ruth, Michael, Genevieve, Charlie, who do you anticipate working with as clients in this industry, or does anyone already work in this sector? Any hands up for anyone who works in the sector? Poojan, can you give us a bit of an idea of the profile of clients that look for these services?
So I work with a client. I work in an organization, but I don't work with that client. So I was doing my placements, and yeah, I heard one of the clients being a real having problem with drinking alcohols.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she's been kept in a seal house.
Mm-hmm.
She used to have problems with family. So she was a victim of domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so So from what I've heard, she had really bad traumas,
Mhm.
and just to cope with it, so she had been drinking uh, last night 5 bottles of wine.
Okay.
She finished drinking. So yeah, the manager told me that she is used to drinking 4 or 5 bottles
Mhm.
on daily basis. So she's independent, so we can't uh, interfere. We can't
Yeah.
intervene with her. Yeah, so
So
because
by
it's
that
her
you,
choice.
yeah,
Yeah,
so by that you mean the dignity of risk. So
yeah,
for Curtis and a few other people who are starting tonight, not being able to interfere means there's a
yeah,
dignity of risk is the terminology,
yeah,
meaning that they have a choice. We have to intervene if their life is at risk, but not choices of risk.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, great. So what Pujani is actually really highlighting for us is that people in these situations will often have coping mechanisms that are going to add additional layers of problems and challenges for you and for them to work through, because they are very much attempting to manage the distress. So one other thing that you'll have across the board with clients that do have challenges with family and domestic violence, and it can be even after the events, is some disassociation. So what Poojan's saying is that she's using substances to numb and basically check out, and they can use it as a distraction. But do know that a lot of your clients can also have actual disassociation where they really will check out and they actually do go somewhere else mentally for a while, and they actually can disengage and become offline. And that's without any use of any alcohol at all. Yeah, one lady used to do it to me, but I think she just didn't like my stories. She said, "Oh, sorry, I just disassociated." I said, "Sure." Anyway, yeah, get some thick skin, people. Lauren, can you give us a rundown? Keeps moving when that happens. Can you give us a rundown on some clients or some tendencies or?
I've just wanted to say that you spoke about who works in the sector already, and I've been youth working for 10 years now. So mainly I've worked in residential. I also currently now work at a detention centre for young people. So that's, quite difficult with the background of also with them relating with their families. That I've seen a lot of what we're going to discuss in this unit. And I also worked in community services with drug and alcohol at a rehab facility for adults. And, all those clients that I had as well were very hard to deal with, because sometimes it's hard for them to identify they actually have a problem as well with that. And sometimes they actually go to that for a coping mechanism for domestic violence. And then they not only have that issue of having domestic violence, but now they've got an addiction for drugs or alcohol. So it's really hard to help maintain both of those when they're trying to escape both at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's happening is that this is a complex issue and it takes a large amount of compassion. So what we've got to do as well is that we really do take that oath of do no harm. So we have to make sure that we're working and that we're not re-traumatizing people. So we've got to make sure that we have a lot of compassion and open mind. We're not looking at shaming or blaming for people who are in these complex situations. So this is where all of your skills are really going to come into play. So let's keep going then, and I'll take you down that track, but please jump in with any expertise, Lauren. So one thing just to touch on in regards to clients, you're going to obviously work with individuals, but those individuals that you work with may be the survivors and the victims, but those individuals may also be the perpetrators and the user of the violence. So we've got to, and this is where we've got to remain, put our biases aside, which we will be looking at tonight, of how we can actually have unconditional positive regard for all of our clients in domestic family violence, including the perpetrators who are looking for help and for us to refer them to get some support. The social context of what we are looking for as far as clients, and this is the part of being able to recognize. We've got to look at some of the patterns, and that is that, yes, there is a diverse amount of culture and background. So it can be anyone. This is not a particular stereotype of poor people only, or people who aren't educated. This situation and your client can be from every type of social background. So we're not going to have expectations, oh, well, they're very well educated, they can't be involved in domestic family violence. We've got to open up that lens and realise that it isn't that simple. It can be any socioeconomic and any level of academic. There are often criminal issues that will be coming into our situation. Again, some people have had some other behaviours attached to their trauma. English as a second language is often common, as is child abuse. So what we're looking at here, if you look at this slide, those 4 groups are vulnerable. Domestic family violence, the clients that you're going to be caring, supporting for are vulnerable people, because a domestic family violence situation is an imbalance of power. Someone or some people have taken away the person's rights, voice, choice, and overpower them in some way. We'll look at the ways and of abuse in a moment. So what we find is that it is typically people who are vulnerable. So this is part of that group of what we would be recognising as potential. Rural locations are also vulnerable because they're isolated. That puts them in a highly vulnerable position, as is they have less resources. Dual diagnosis means dual diagnosis of mental health. So if you are working with a client that has complex mental health needs, they fall into that vulnerable category. And that's where you've got to have the ability as a professional to recognise that they are vulnerable to this. And that's where you're going to be more observant. A variety of different religious beliefs can actually be involved in domestic family violence, including some people have claims that their part of their religious belief is that one of the partners, perhaps a female, is submissive and will do as they're told. Mental health issues in general, not just the dual diagnosis, but the dual diagnosis is really, again, a more vulnerable person, but so is anyone who's currently having mental health issues. So what we're wanting to do is recognise that these are some of the profile for our actual clients. So now what we're going to just look at is the types of abuse. So what we've got is most people are aware that of financial abuse and physical abuse, sexual, emotional, social isolation, child and elder. Again, as you can see here, somebody has overpowered another person and they're taking away their choices. Well, we've got more subtle forms of abuse that we need to actually be aware of. And that's inciting fear, stalking, intimidation, spiritual, psychological, social, cultural, harm to people, harm to pets and property. So what we're looking at here is that an example of spiritual, won't be a second, Shanika. If somebody has overpowered you and are making your choices for you, they may actually take away a spiritual and even a social, cultural choice. It might be that you attend church, that's part of your support network, part of your spirituality and your culture. They may actually not allow it, or they may dictate to you that this is the actual cult or spirituality that you're going to have. So a lot of the times people look at thinking that abuse is about taking away, removing money, but it's also about enforcing somebody to do something against their will. And some of them are actually complex and put together. So I'm going to actually stop sharing. Yes, Shanika?
I was having a conversation with a colleague the other day, and they pointed out that coercive abuse is another category of abuse.
Yeah, and we're going to hook into that next week. We're going to do all the complexity part. So thank you. It is tricky. It's now got laws actually coming in against it. So tonight we're going to do mostly the recognise for the client and actually also recognise just some of the laws and the casework. So what we've got to do is recognise that what we've got is if somebody is having trauma, it's often complex trauma. And what we've got to recognise there is actually what they call a cycle. And that's the other thing we've got to realise when we're looking at recognising it with our clients. There'll be highs and lows in that relationship. It is, and you'll see it in your learner guide, it goes around the circle. So they actually have a honeymoon phase, and that is often the makeup phase. And what you've got to start recognising and looking for indicators of is that there is a build-up of tension. Things are actually building, and then they actually blast. So what we're doing is we're getting often mixed messages because our client might be on cloud 9, loves their husband or wife, whichever way or however it works, or family. So what we've got is that we've got to realise there's a pattern, there's a cycle, and be aware of that. Because that person is actually receiving and getting often love bombed, it's very difficult for them psychologically to leave. So it takes around 7 attempts for an average person to leave an abusive relationship, because very soon after the trauma or the challenge happens, abuse, very quickly they're dosed with a large amount of love. So then they actually, their wiring is, well, it can't all be that bad. And then what they do is it's a little bit like an addiction. They'll stay for the high. It's very, very confusing and needs a lot of compassion. So what we're looking at now is values and philosophies. And I would love for Damien to give us the reading because he did a fantastic, this is question 1, everybody. Get your pens out, because this is the level of answers that I'm looking for. If I can ask Damien to please lead the group, spread your knowledge, and read for us what you had put down for these 3, and then I'll get to the next slide when we're ready.
No worries. Good evening, guys. So I've got here, obviously, you've got the whole list of safety. Like, obviously, first off the bat, safety and wellbeing must be a priority. For that one, I had written, as a support worker, it is paramount that those going through domestic family violence and abuse must be the first priority of any response, and everything in your power and abilities is done to provide a safe haven for these people, at the very least be given the right resources and pathways/supports to achieve this. Then we go on to the second one, which is every person has the right to live free from violence and abuse. So no one in this world deserves to go through any form of violence and or abuse/violence, sorry about repeating that. And that should be every single person's perspective, not just mine as a support worker, who sees and supports these who have to live with the terrible and heartbreaking consequences that come from it. Once we go from there, we go on to community reaction and assistance. As a community, it is our responsibility to do our utmost to prevent domestic family violence and abuse. We need to come together to help and support one another. If this was to happen, then the rate of domestic family violence would surely go down if we all as humans received the support we needed as individuals from the beginning. Give me a second. And then we go down to organizations' dedication to meeting clients' needs and upholding their rights. The company and organization standing behind their client and holding them up, fighting for them and their basic human rights. Not just saying they will try to help you, get you what you need, but actually do it, and not stopping until their needs have been met and they have been given the support, tools and resources to succeed and overcome. We go down to organizations' dedication to empowering those affected by domestic and family violence. The company slash organization supporting the people in all aspects, such as helping them restore their dignity, their power, and their regain control of their life, make them feel heard and give them the freedom to make informed decisions in or about their lives, and give them the ability to set out their own goals slash aspirations. From there, we go to domestic and family violence is a widespread and complex. No two cases of domestic violence is the same. Each case has its own identity and set of complex needs slash supports. It requires us as support workers to delve deep well past the surface, as nothing is always as it seems, and there are varying depths to each individual case. Domestic family violence and abuse comes in many shapes and forms and is never just clear cut. It wears many masks. Then we go to individuals involved in domestic family violence at any level, physical, mentally, emotional, socially, and or financially affected. No matter the severity and no matter the level of domestic family violence and abuse, it will always have detrimental effects. No individual is luckier in the sense that it wasn't that bad, as each case should have never happened to begin with, and no one should have had to suffer at the hand of another. Every case of domestic violence is as serious and as damaging as the one before it and the one after it.
Fantastic.
Domestic family violence and abuse have a significant social and economic cost to the community.
Mm.
So the community bears a significant cost due to the domestic family violence and abuse. For example, the estimated cost of domestic family violence in Australia between 2015 and 2016 was $22 billion, let alone the horrendous and crushing effects it has on the family of those affected. Then when we go down to all domestic family violence is unacceptable.
Yeah.
So no matter how big or small, domestic family violence should never be something that happens in the first place. No matter how much or how little, it is unacceptable regardless of gender, religion, ethnicity, beliefs.
Fantastic.
And last but not least, those who use violence should take responsibility for their behavior. They should be provided with access to behavior change programs as one element of ensuring the safety of the people they have used violence against. So I've written, as a support worker, I believe this should be mandatory, given the distress and destruction they have brought upon someone else's life. The fact they took away their most basic human rights and left them to rebuild what is left and try the best to get back their own sense of dignity and control of their life. That aside, I believe it would be helpful so they can learn from what they have done and are able to get an understanding of the damage that takes place and how deep that damage goes for the victim. Within the program, the perpetrator may be able to discover what brings them to this behavior and find the root of what's causing it, as so they can also begin to heal the part of them and in turn not become a repeat offender. And that's that.
I think, can everyone give some high tens to Damien? Yes, thank you. Come on, everybody. How heartfelt and true was that? Yeah, Charlie's giving you a thumbs up. It just takes it out of the textbook, doesn't it? And puts it into the field of how we're going to approach this from a humanitarian point of view. Yeah, go, good job. Because what we're really looking for is that we all want to have a positive impact. And then what Damien's really put there is, I guess, the perspective we can have, the outlook we can have, the intention we can have. They're all under the philosophies, but that's really how we're going to actually show up. And it also highlights how challenging this is going to be to show up because of the complexity. We're talking billions. And we're also looking at an average of one woman a week is actually murdered and one man a month from a partner that they've actually formed a partner. So we really do want to dig deep. And I love the bit about no case is the same, no person is the same. So tonight is all about figuring out how we can actually be aware and really recognize this, because it is so complex. So what we've got to do is, I do want to keep moving on. Well said, love it. What we've got to do is, it's amazing to have that as a base of how we would show up as a support worker with those values. How are we going to keep it up? How are we actually going to keep it up is really tough. I'll give you a quick example. One of my friends was actually degree qualified and worked in domestic family violence for years. But when she became pregnant, she became a lot more sensitive. And she started overstepping boundaries by accidentally going in and doing things that they should have been doing for themselves. And an example was, they had a very horrific case of a parent and woman and children arrive. She went and bought the woman's milk. Now, normally they don't actually do the things that they should be empowering them to do themselves. She actually put herself on maternity leave that afternoon. She recognized that it was the first time she'd actually been really affected, that she went and did something for someone that should have been doing it themselves. They can give assistance with the finance, the shops and other means, but they don't take over someone else's actual ability. Now, that might seem really simple. Well, big deal, she just got her some milk, but she felt energetically as well that she was leaning in. She did take some time off, but later on, she's now actually one of the head honchos. What we've got to do for duty of care is step back when we feel we're crossing the boundary. And that'll be, sometimes we've got to bring our duties down in heavy domestic violence work or heavy cases of high risk, and come up when your boundaries are stronger. So do know, in this industry, you're going to have to self-regulate that by self-reflection and reviewing, and having other people at your work also give you feedback. And it's an ongoing process. But what we're going to do now is, we're going to get into the role plays, because I'm going to get in real early. But I want to also now just come back, because there's something we need to expand on before we do, because we're talking about clients and we're talking about abuse and recognizing it. So we're up here with some of the abuse. I'm going to come back, and this is the types, but what's it going to actually look like? So I think I've got chat open, which I don't normally. I do have it open. So what I'm going to do is ask everybody, because I noticed last week there was a few people who just sat back. There's no sitting back tonight. You're all going to type all at once in chat. That way everyone's name's on it and the contribution's a little bit more even, because I've noticed a few people just hanging back like a fly on the wall. So get ready, everybody. I'm going to ask you for some physical indicators or behavioural signs. What would that be? You're with you're a support worker, you've got great ethics and values, good boundaries. What are you going to see? And type away, everybody. Let's share this list, share our input. What might that look like? How are you going to recognise it? Because one thing we need to do is understand, some people don't even know that they're actually in an abuse situation. They're so conditioned to it being their normal and their life, and maybe it's been their parents' lives, that they may not even know. That client, you might be the first person to have a discussion with them that they actually may potentially be in a violent situation. And they might say, but this is just how it's always been. This is all I know and all I've seen. Okay, that's okay, Danny, if you're still at work, thank you. So we're looking now is that, yep, they're going to possibly withdraw. There may be physical indicators that you can see, and then we've got there, thanks Shanika, for burns, cuts, unexpected injuries, bruises, avoiding being alone with certain people. Great job, Charlie. Yeah, absolutely. Some closed body language, yes. They may not be physically removing themselves, but just emotionally shutting down when they're with you and avoiding you actually looking at them. Social isolation, the jaw, good job. Wearing long clothes, good spotting, Darty. Yep, so you may have someone who's wearing lots of jackets in summer. We're looking for abnormalities here of their behavior, anxious and struggle, jumpy, agitated. Fantastic. So I also didn't want you to verbally say all these because this is quite triggering content. So I'd rather you type this than say it. I'm happy to read it out. Okay, love this. Johanna has got a person who asks for permission for everything and scared. That's great. So they're clearly not even got any voice. Yep, wearing makeup to cover bruises. Okay, I hadn't really thought about them covering that way. Yeah, thanks Curtis for putting that in. Oh, great, Odinaka. Yeah. Sudden changes in personality, high anxiety, clock watching. Michelle, explain that one. Now I've not heard of or even thought of that.
For example, you
Yeah.
might have somebody that they're constantly watching that clock because they know they've got to be home by a certain time. Certain things that they have to do in their life has to be done at a certain time, and they're
Right,
very
Jill.
aware. They're aware that they could be late for something, and you can see straight away the whole demeanor changes in that person because they're really.
Wow. They may have been told to be home by ... Good job, Michelle. Hadn't even thought about that. Spikes in their mood. Okay, so it's changing and then actually cycling as well. That's fantastic. So for physical, and again, everyone is different, but this is just some of them, is again, what they're looking for is any dental injuries that actually maybe you don't seem correct. So all of a sudden, if they actually have dental issues or teeth missing, bite marks, things that are very just not there. Rope burns are a possibility. Cigarette burns are another thing that actually are very tricky to see, but they are a definite indicator. Again, you had it right about being fearful of particular people. Any change in their sleep disturbances and their mood you got. Excessive compliance is another one which you've put there, which is absolutely right. And we've got here also changes in their routine or appetite can be some that you may see. So now what I'd love is, yeah, okay, Lauren, thank you. Controlling the conversation if children are in the room. Yeah. Psychological abuse is really difficult because we're not going to see burn marks or rope marks necessarily. So can you start to type, because I don't want everybody to say it, what are some indicators that you might see in your client? But I think the more we share our knowledge, speech and temperament, yeah. Wanting to avoid topics, well done.
What was the question again there? Sorry.
If they were having psychological or emotional abuse, what indicators might we see for someone? Because we don't get to see rope burns and cigarette marks, but what maybe they're physical indicators or behavioral changes. All right, defensiveness. Yeah. Oh, okay. Defending the abuser is part of the trauma bond. That's a trauma cycle. And that's really important to know. Jumpy when they hear a voice, and that's the hypervigilance. Yeah. Sweet in public. Yeah. Deflecting, stuttering. Absolutely. We've got the very first one is actually speech disorders. It'll actually go to a complete disorder. Yeah. Making excuses. Yeah. Self-harm, absolutely. So we're looking at anxiety attacks right up to suicide attempts. So, and the self-harm hits right in the middle. Yeah, the paranoia is absolutely right. We're looking at somebody who, if you're highly stressed all the time and you're in fight and flight and you've got nothing but adrenaline and cortisol in your system, you actually have an inflamed brain. So that's really challenging for our client. So what we're going to have is someone who's really dysregulated. So the one other thing that we have that hasn't quite been mentioned that I'll throw on top is extreme attention-seeking behavior. So all of a sudden, it can be not just a change of mood, but they may do something really drastic that just puts them in the front center of attention. Instead of withdrawing, there's an excessive need to actually be up front. So they overcompensate. So for financial, what we've got there obviously is a little bit easier to see if someone's missing with money, they're not buying clothes, they're not buying food. Neglect can be tiredness and hunger. But I won't go into sexual too much, but it is important that we do. So if it was sexual abuse, and do keep in mind that it's family, so we have to consider behavior changes for children. These are amazing, guys, and you can all reference these back. What might be some physical indicators or behavior changes that we could see? Because we might be supporting an adult, but we may see something in their family home. What might that be, guys? Sleeping fully clothed. Oh my gosh, that is something they nearly always do. Yeah. Yes. Contact, being jumpy. Yeah. These are great, guys. This will really help you as professionals. Asking a friend to accompany them. Wow. Okay. So getting some support. Losing hair is a big one, as is skin rashes, actually. So what we've got there as well is obviously your standard changes in sleep and eating. Social patterns change, anxiety patterns, going to bed fully clothed is there. But one other one to know about, and this could be more of a child or an adult, but unexpected money or gifts. If that starts happening on a regular basis, that is something to flag. And what we've got as well is obviously if they're having difficulty walking or sitting. So we're looking at that. Well done, guys. So what we've got now is we're going to jump straight into your role play. And before we do, because I've made you a very quick, I've just grabbed the checklist for what an assessor needs to tick you off, and I've made a role play. I don't want you to think that that's exactly how I want it done, because you need to be you. You need to say it your way and do it in the way that you would like to. So I want you to do that with me now. Let's assume that we're with a client and we're needing to assist them to co-regulate and also validate their feelings, which is nearly every mental health client that we're working with. I want to ask and pop in some questions, and it can be something as simple as, how are you feeling today? But can we all share? Because people have a hard time asking. So tell me, why have you come in, or how can I help you? What's your go-to? How do you lean in and gently ask someone how, instead of, are you okay? How do you lean in? Apart from saying, what can I do to support you? What's your way? What's your way of leaning in and asking someone? People have a hard time starting. You can ask things like, how can I support you today? What's most critical? What's your most critical need? Yes, Sarah?
Would you start off by asking them, is there anything you can do for them? Is there
Perfect.
anything they'd like to talk about?
Great. What would you like to talk about today?
Yeah.
Yep. Pop it into the notes if you wish. Poojan? You're on mute, buddy. So your good tips gone to no one.
All right.
That's better.
So as I was saying, we could start by practicing active listening.
Yes.
So that we are fully present in the moment and listening, and maintain eye contact, nod, and use verbal cues like I understand or that makes sense, just so
Yeah.
that they feel comfortable that we are listening to them,
Mhm.
and also be also make our attitude feel a bit non-judgmental, so that they don't feel uncomfortable thinking that we're judging we're just judging them and the lives they are going through, something like that.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Thanks, Poojan. That's the best base we can have, is making them the focus of our attention. Darty, then I'll head to Lauren. What's your go-to? How do you lean
Maybe
in?
you can just say that just want to let you know this is a safe place and I'm here to support you. If we just
Mhm.
want to share something something deep, we can go ahead with that.
Mhm. Beautiful. Reaffirming it's a safe space. Great. Lauren, you had your hand up?
Yep, sorry. I would ask what goal can I help you achieve?
Yeah.
Asking those questions. How has your day been so far? And letting them know, reassuring them that what we talk about, it does not go outside here unless it's obviously on mandatory reporting, obviously. But just making sure that they know they're in a safe place, and also using my body language to ensure that they feel somewhat of comfortable to disclose certain things they're about to talk about, because it can be tricky. And I'd also make sure that they're in that space where they can just sit and they can talk and they can have a drink, like a cup of tea or water, so that they're more comfortable when they want to see me next to progress on to what we have to tick off the goals.
Fabulous. Love it. Genevieve, and then I come back to Sarah. Yep. You've got your mute on again.
Sorry, I was trying to find the button.
Right.
Assuming that we've had the general introduction and whatnot, potentially a question could be, can you talk more about how things are going for you at home right now?
Yep, be more specific about what you're asking, because we've got to be able to help and tease information out. Beautiful. Sarah, and then Shanika.
I probably reassure them that there is no judgment. They could tell me anything, and there was this is a judgment-free zone. Like, they won't be judged, that anything they tell me that is perfectly fine, and make sure that they're reassured that there's nothing wrong with them. And if something had happened to them, it's not their fault. That the more they tell us, the more we can help. Reassure them that the more they can tell us is the more information we can get, the better we can help them and give them the right resources.
Beautiful. Constantly reassuring them to stay with the support, because a lot of the times they may consider failing. Well done. Shanika?
You could say to them that you don't seem yourself today. Is there something going on that you want to talk about?
Beautiful. Keep it nice and light and not directed at all. Great. Darty?
Just carrying forward Geneva, what said that, do you want to just ask that, do you feel safe at home physically?
Great. Thank you. Damien? Or Naka, sorry. I think she was waiting. I've got to get this hands thing up. Sorry, hang on. No, it was Damien. Sorry. Damien and Odnaka.
That's all right. Just quickly, can you I stepped away for a second. Can you just tell me the question real quick before I answer?
Yeah, so I'm about to take you into the role play, and then I've
Yep.
also put together a very quick thing of me in the role play, but I want you to don't not think you have to copy me. So I'm
Yep.
asking, what's your way of leaning in? How do you pull information from someone? What statement would you ask? And some of them have been asking more direct statements, like, tell me what's happening at home. Some people are saying, how's life for you at the moment?
Yep.
I just want
Okay.
you to practice you before you hear me and think that has to be done that way. I've just done an example.
Yeah, I
What's
guess I would
your
probably
way
I
of
would
communicating?
probably just to create like a good like a trusting environment to begin with, and reminding the client that they are, I guess not to tell them they're safe, but to also remind them that they're not alone, and they won't be alone during the process, and that we will be there to support them through the entire process.
Yeah. And you
That's
can
probably how it
say
is.
stuff like that in many different ways in all your own language. So please use your way of as Damien's saying, is to let them know that you're there. Some people say, I'm here to work beside you. I'm here to work through this with you. We can work this together. But you're right. You have to come up with your way of letting them know that and you can say, I'm now part of your support circle, whatever it is, but you do need to attach yourself to them so they don't feel isolated, because that is the number one thing. Sometimes someone might come and tell you, and they may have actually been in this situation for over a decade. It's so complex. So that trust that they connect with you and stay connected is probably one of the foundations. Thank you. Odonaka?
Okay, so for me, I'll just let him or her know that he's not in this alone. He has not, like, he is not the first person that has gone into this situation, that a lot of us, like, we go through it and we come out successfully. So he also is into it, and I know his plate is full, that he should just let me know, just give me the opportunity to empty the plate for him, you know, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're trying to do, and that is that part of hope and healing, you're trying to light that lantern of hope. So we've got their trust. They know that they're safe. They're free to speak. They know we won't judge them. We do have to light a lantern of hope. There's a lot of work to be done here, guys. Some people have got to leave their homes, leave all sorts of things. So what you're saying, Adnaka, is that you would reassure them that there's better days ahead. We're here to help you go and get that help. And what does that mean? To better days ahead. I can assure you. Yeah, well done. You've lit the hope part of the healing. And then I've got to check here, Michelle, what's your way of support?
I would have said as well, you're not alone, I'm here with you. But I would also be saying, if you can't tell me, can you write it down for me?
Good job.
Put it that way.
Yep, that's fantastic. You'll be surprised at how many people don't communicate, especially their feelings or concerns, or like to ask for help. And that's the thing, ask for help, but they will write it. So I was a step parent of 2 boys at one stage, and they used to fight a lot, and there was so much tension. And I often used to ask them for their issues and their concerns. I got zip. You're right, Michelle. You've reminded me. I put pen and paper down and said, would you write down your concerns so I can help you? And I got like pages. And it works. Some people can only give it to you on the page. Thank you, Michelle. I'd totally even forgotten that technique. There's another technique. Some people don't like to talk about feelings. Don't use the word. Use the word, what are you thinking? Ignore the feeling word. But if you need to know what their feeling is, I'll have to stand up a little bit. You tap here, especially for some of the men who may be older and haven't been used to talking about their heart feelings. You can actually tap and say, what are you feeling here? Oh, sorry, what are you thinking here? And you'll often, they'll actually start telling you how they feel, but you've stayed away from that word, and that actually helps them stay open. Jessica.
Yes. I was asking, is it okay to ask like what brought you here today? And then after you try building some rapport with them, making them have your trust, and then you can start the conversation or something. Then you make them aware that they are safe in here. And then you should also be attentive to whatever they are saying and try not to be judgmental or something to make them feel safe and more like having the edge like to open up more.
Okay, beautiful. So you're going to keep that happening so they can keep teasing it out and keep divulging more. Beautiful. Suvi, what's your way of leaning in and helping them?
Of course, listening to them and offering a compassionate ear and, validating their emotions and feelings, and without any judgment, of course. And after that, I would, suggest any kind of counseling or therapy. That's the latter part. But at first, just listening to them and making sure that, reassuring them that everything will be private and confidential. So.
Okay, that's lovely. So that's a way to get that trust and that non-judgment. We'll grab Sarah and then we'll go straight into the role play, guys, and you're going to be able to get ready to do that. So Sarah?
Would you offer them a chance to go elsewhere and talk where there's a more safe, like a place they felt safer speaking instead of being just in those offices? Would you
Yep.
offer them to go like to a coffee
Yes.
shop or somewhere where they feel safe?
Has to be private, but absolutely. So I, as a counsellor, I actually do what I call, it was in my brochure, it's called no couch counselling. So we were often on the sides of cliffs walking. It's called Commodore counselling, meaning you're in the car driving in your Commodore, and that is that you'll get a lot out of people in a car drive because they're not looking at you, they're looking at the road and they feel very safe to speak. So if you're on a track and they're in front of you or behind you, you'll be surprised in an open healing space how much they'll open up, and they're not looking at you and you're moving. You're also moving a lot of the stress. I meet at parks, in the middle of parks, and I'll turn up with coffees or they will. You're absolutely right. This is the client's choice, voice, and setting, and that is a very big part of it. Yeah, well done. Suvi, have you put your hand back up, or is that from last time? Last time? Let's keep moving on. I love it. I love all of the additions that everyone has put on. So now let's meet our first person with our professional practice. This is where we get the skills out. Now, what Hader is asking is that when we do a role play, they're asking from this week on, and it's apparently part of our regulations now, because where role playing is supposed to be a simulated work environment, and they're making the assumption it's an office. But again, it doesn't have to be. Thank you for bringing that up a moment ago. They're asking, could you just mention these things? So if you want to take a screenshot, I've put this together. You'll hear me in my role play say this at the beginning. And I'm just going to say that I'm working in an area that's hazard free. There's emergency exit. So this is new information. And I'll show you how I just rattle it off at the beginning. So stage one, our normal role play would always start with, as you've said, rapport, privacy and confidentiality. So we let them know that whatever they share with us is private. We explain our role and our organisation. And as Pujan said, we're always going to lean in with active listening, empathy and respect, person first, non-judgmental. Culturally safe. So these are your standard practices of how you are going to be conducting your professional practice every time. We're always going to verbally validate the client. So what you'll even see from me is that I will be non-directive. I might use direct questions, and I'm asking out of 1 to 5 how safe they are, but I'm not telling them what to do. We have duty of care and dignity of risk. So if they choose to go home and they say they're safe, then that's their choice. So this is the easiest role play because it starts with Diane. We are a counsellor. We're working at First Access. Referred the crisis case. So it is a crisis. Diane comes to the centre. She has called ahead of time. So that gives you the clue that she made this appointment. So you know she's a willing participant and that she has actually come to the centre, not someone is forcing her to come. She enters the office. She has bruises that are obvious. Now you'll notice that one of the questions that I ask her in the role play is, what can't I see? I'm using very direct because the first thing is that we need to recognise and then respond. You can't respond to something that you can't see. So you'll notice that I ask her, I can see you've got bruises. What can't I see? I'd be finding out from what's hidden. When we're talking, and I'm talking to Diane, she's very strong and determined in her nature. Okay, they have children. Now, another hint that I want to give you that isn't in your role play notes, but you'll see me do it. If duty of care is safety for myself, my client/clients, and all involved, what you'll see in my role play is I really drill into who else is involved. She tells me, and it's written in these notes, that her children are safe. They've gone to her sisters. I now want to know what other children are involved. Are they minding the neighbours' children for a month? We can't make the assumption that we've been told her children are fine. Okay, great, that's wonderful. Who else? Are there more children involved? We've got to check all involved. We've also got to check, are there any other adults involved? Yeah, so you'll see me drill down, which aren't in your notes. So just heads up. So it says here, during the conversation, she's got multiple injuries, but doesn't want to leave. So you'll see me not force her. She's looking for strategies. She doesn't want to go to her doctor, but now I've got to actually create a referral. So with Denise, we are going to fill in her referral tonight. Along with this role play, there's 2 documents and we're going to fill them in tonight. One is a referral and we'll do it together as a team and then you'll have it to submit. The other thing that we have for Diane is what's called a safety plan. So we're going to refer her to the doctor and then we're going to do a safety plan with Diane. So I'm just going to stop sharing. How's everyone feel about getting in to do that? Good? Okay, so I'm just going to go and find my role play thing that I've made for you. And what you're going to see is, if I can find it, oops, I have to find it. I'll do the safety plan and I'll find it while we're doing that. And then I'm going to do, okay. We might do this safety plan together, guys, and then I'll give you all a break. So what a safety plan is it is if a client is wanting to go back to the environment and says that they're okay, you'll notice that I ask her out of 5. I'm trying to find out how dangerous the situation is. Also, when you ask them for a rating out of 5, you'll notice that I ask, has she ever been a 5, which is fearing for her life? Has she ever been a 4? And then what you can also see is if she says, well, it's been a 2 for a year and it went to a 4 overnight, we know that it actually escalated. So you'll see me use the numbers. So she's told me that she's only a 3. She's going to go home. We offer a safety plan. They all look different for different companies. I really would encourage you to get online and look. They're called exit plans. And what we're doing is we're not going to fill this out in the role play, but I do need you to offer it in the role play. And then I've pretended that she says, what's that mean? And I've explained it. A safety plan is we go through it together. It's a small document. We're going to ask her questions about if she's comfortable to call the police. Make sure she is. We're going to ask, is there someone else that she can trust to help her call the police? And what we do is we create a code word. So if she's actually in that unsafe environment, she might have a code word to her neighbour, says, I'm just going to ring my friend Joy or whatever and see if she wants to get together to go shopping tomorrow at the mall. So we actually help her. If she can't call the police, she needs to set it up with somebody who can call, and we give a code word. We want to find out about the children and what their assistances are. And we're going to do this together. Even communication. Does she have a phone and internet? Some companies will actually give that person a phone before they leave. They may even give them prepaid cards. If that person hasn't got phones and communication, they may be actually giving it to them. They'll look for a code word. Do you have access to other phones? They may even encourage them to buy a second phone, a number not known, and hide it. We want to check if they've got transport. Some people actually give taxi vouchers. They'll go home with a safety plan and taxi vouchers. If it's financial abuse and they don't have money to buy a phone, they don't have even money to put petrol or a car. This is where we talk about what would you take with you? Are there any documents, passports? So you start getting them to, and all you're going to do with this is tick yes, guys. Can you prepare copies of important documents? Yes. So this is not hard for you to do tonight. Medication. Some people have medication. So they'll actually start to get it ready to carry with them away. So this is if you have to leave. Talks about money and funds. Again, some people are given vouchers before they even leave, food vouchers. And so what we're doing is we're going through, and you can see here, First Access can support you in getting services. Are these services that can help you? We try and get that done with them now, because we know if they leave, we already know what their needs are. So we're getting on board in advance to, if you've had to leave an emergency, you've rung your neighbour, you've got your code words, you've got your vouchers, you've got your phone, you've got your taxi, you've got your food vouchers, you've got your safe place ready. And we already know what we're going to do. Our job is already set with you for what you're going to be needing. And then you sign off. So that's actually a really basic document. When we're going to do, we're going to have a break now and then come back, watch me do the quick role play. Then I'm going to ask, does anyone else want to be assessed and do the role play as well? And then the safety plan is easy. We're going to then go into breakout rooms, look at the safety plan, and actually fill it out tonight so that you can have your role play done. There's a counselling referral, and I'm going to show you that as well tonight. Now, all the others are very similar, but we'll do them next week. So why don't you have a break, come back at 7:30, and then we'll kick off on my example, your role play, your paperwork. Yeah? Okay, I'll stop recording. Okay, everybody's on a break, so I just want to let everybody know I'm putting it on record for any newbies or anyone who hasn't found their paperwork that they need. So I'm going to share this. I've gone into your file. I hope that's okay, Damien. I went the back door. So you're going to get into your task 3 role play. And as you can see here, we've got Diane, which we're doing tonight. When you scroll down, there's the role play instructions. These are the submissions. You're going to need to do a video recording of your role play, no more than 12 minutes. You'll see mine's 11, so you've got to be super fast. Your role play must have another person in it. Mine doesn't, because I was showing you what I need to assess, but you will have a person playing Diane. Now, we're going to do a completed referral form, and you'll see us do that in the class tonight. I want to show you how to find it. Then we've got a completed safety plan. So what you're going to need to do is copy that. And then what we're going to do is I'll stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to start sharing.
I was having difficulty with what you just copied and pasted.
Oh, were you?
All you do is just copy referral form and safety plan.
Yeah.
And then the whole list will come up, and it's right at the top. Just because I copied and pasted that whole thing,
Yeah.
and it kept coming up, no result.
Oh, so whatever Shanika's put in the chat is not working?
Yep. So if you just put safety plan, or if
Yeah.
you put whatever the other one is, just
Okay.
those words,
Yeah.
on First Access, it'll come up.
Oh, that's brilliant. All right.
Sorry to butt in.
No, please, because we're trying to
Yeah.
help everybody, and I am not doing it your way, which is why. So apparently the link that's there, guys, doesn't always get you in, but that's what was put in. So what we now do is we're going to go into the staff portal login. It's Hader Institute. This is Hader again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is your password. And when you log in, this is your portal, and it has policies and procedures, and it has forms that you'd fill in as if you were an employee. So you can search. So
I would just, get rid of the SD1 and just put referral form.
referral. Okay. And let's see what comes up. There you go. So you'll double click on it. It'll then let you download it. Then you'll come up and you've got it. So that's what you're going to see us using tonight. That's how you can find it. And then if we head back, you should be able to come in and do. So what you're saying, just go straight into safety plan. Don't worry about all the codes. Beautiful. There it is. There's your safety plan. Again, start working around and looking at different things. We're not doing the suicide safety plan tonight, but get into first access, guys, and enjoy it. So there's obviously a different purpose to that plan. A lot of people have these in place, and they'll actually have, and sometimes you'll be the first person that they'll have it in their action plan. Been to places at midnight, jumping in the car, you're their first call.
Just
And
quickly ask a question. Sorry.
Yeah.
Did I just noticed before? Do we have to record? Will we be being recorded? Or do we need to record this separately?
Okay. Okay, so what is happening? A change is happening as of this week, and I'll tell the whole class as well. It's come from ASQA, which is the governing body. Normally, so all of these assignments do say that you record the video and upload the video. What Hader's been doing is offering assessors to assist you. And I've even up to this point been able to play some of the roles. So where this is Denise, I was able to be Denise and assess you. ASQA are now saying that we cannot be in the role play and in the assessor seat. So as of this week, I can only have my assessor hat on. Yep. So what we're needing to do is, again, this unit we have got set for Saturdays. So I can be the assessor. You can come along on a Saturday and role play together. So I'll go, Damien, Dadi, can you be Denise? And you can share it. And I just going to be the observer. So you're done. In class, I'm okay to be the assessor, and you can get it done in class, after class. So last night when we shut the class down, 6 people said, can we role play? I said, yes, sure thing. So we role played, they swapped and shared, and I was watching it. Or you get your iPhone out and you do your own. If you want to push on and get ahead, the fastest way is to actually, if you can't get it done in the class, because there's a lot to learn, we won't always be able to, pull out your iPhone and just video yourself. So what I've done is I've gone and quickly gone, okay, it asks for 12 minutes. How can you get the checklist done? I think I took 11. And I imagined if I was doing the role play like you have to at home. And I quickly recorded myself, and we'll watch it in a minute. But your recordings must have a person. We were able to, at this point, actually even assess if they didn't have a person. Some people pretended, like you'll see in my video. But now ASQA has said, no, workplace scenario, they need to have a person there. So I do want you to see my video for one reason. Please don't make the person say very much. We've already got Denise's whole story. We've got everything written there. 12 minutes is not long. the reason I've videoed myself is to show you that this is what we're looking at as an assessor. I'm not looking at how good your neighbour plays the role of Denise. I'm looking only for the checklist. So that's why it took me 11 minutes, and you'll see me not have much. I go, pretending that Denise just said something. We need 10% from the client. 90%'s got to be you. You're the show. You're the person I'm assessing, and I need to see all the checklists. So we're going to watch me in a moment, but just assume that that's you videoing. Have someone else in your screen. Please don't have them say a lot. I don't need them to go a whole long story and repeat the case. Yeah.
Yep.
One, they're taking your airtime. So hopefully that helps everybody at home. So you'll see my recording, just copy something similar in your own way with a person sitting in front of you, and you will pass. Right, so. Hello, my name is Karen Thompson. I'm a trainer. I think it gets louder. This is a demonstration, and it is a very condensed. Can you hear that, guys? A matter of minutes for an assessment purpose. So please take that into consideration. This is CHCDFV001, Task 3, Role Play 1, Diane's. And I'd like to set the scene by first of all explaining that I have a private, confidential, safe, well-ventilated, comfortable, with correct seating, desks, all the equipment in the office that is required, from notepads to computers to telephones, panic buttons, exits that are strategies and exit avenues nearby. And we've also got, this is a hazard-free environment. We have credentials on the wall. We have support numbers on the wall. And this is my first meet and greet with Diane. So I'll begin by saying, welcome, Diane. It's lovely to meet you. My name is Karen Tonkin, and please do use your own name if you wish, because it will help practice. Introduce yourself. And I'm a counsellor here working at First Access. It's really lovely to meet you. Come in and make yourself comfortable. And my goal here is to support you. I'd like to let you know that this is a judgment-free space where you are free to talk and share with me. And I'm also wanting to let you know that it is private and confidential. And by that, Diane, what I mean is that I won't be sharing anything with anyone else that you share with me. The only event that would have to happen is if your safety was compromised or the safety of someone else. And then I would be seeking some support, and I would need to actually provide some information to those I seek support, whether that is my supervisor or some other services. My primary concern is your safety. So that'd be the only time that I do that. Otherwise, everything is between us here in this office. So I want to ask, how can I actually assist you today? That sounds like you've really been dealing with a lot, Diane. That sounds like a great struggle. Would you like to tell me a little bit more? Okay. I need to let you know that you're not alone in this, Diane. I'm here to support you, as is my service. We want to make sure that you know that we can work through this with you together. Are you aware what you're dealing with is actually abuse, and the violence you've mentioned is you feel that you deserve it? And I want to let you know, Diane, that no one ever deserves to be treated in a way that is harmful, psychologically or physically. You do not deserve this treatment. Okay. Yeah, I understand that you weren't aware that this was abuse. Sometimes we can get used to things at home and in relationships. Okay. Well, it's definitely not okay, and it's not okay to continue. What I want to do is just check that I've understood you correctly. You've said that this has been going on for some time, and that it started with just some light comments and then a slap to your cheek. And then now, as of last night, you feel that you have actually possibly broken your arm and that the bruises I can see are from last night. Can I ask, Diane, is there anything else that I can't see? Any other bruised or broken areas that aren't obvious to me that you'd like to tell me about? Okay. So there's nothing else that's hidden under clothing or you're concerned about? So what we're looking at then now, obviously, Diane, is your arm. Is that your most pressing concern? Is that where I can help you most today? And you've mentioned that you don't want to go to your GP for privacy. Would you like me to be able to refer you to a GP that we have with first access? And by that I mean that it is private and confidential. I can refer you, but those notes are in your file. Your husband, as you said, you're concerned about finding out, will not be informed about you being referred to our doctor. So I have your consent to share your information in the referral. Okay, I just want to make sure I've got that before I begin. I do have a document that you can sign off for me about sharing that information as well, but we can do that later. Just want to make sure I have your permission. We can look at getting that appointment happening for you urgently and today. In the meantime, as I mentioned, I wanted to just check safety with you. Diane, if I was to ask you, number one being that you're not at all concerned with your safety whatsoever, no concerns. And 5, you fear for your life. Can I ask you right now in this moment, what number would you say you are? Okay. So you believe you're a 3 today. What do you think you were last night, number-wise? A 4. Diane, I really want you to know that you have support. This is a challenging time for you and we can help make things better. I need to ask, have you ever been a 5? Have you ever feared for your life? No. Okay. You mentioned last night you were a 4. Is that the first time you've been a 4? Have you been a 4 before? Okay. So just making sure I've heard you correctly, last night was the first time you've been a 4. You do not feel that there's ever been a situation where you've been a 4 before? You said it felt like it started at 2 and it's been a 3 only recently. My concern here, Diane, is I can see that over this past year, there's been a very fast escalation from 3 to 4 quickly. Diane, do you want to actually leave the home today? I need to circle back to your safety then. If you're not going to leave the home, I need just to discuss your children. Where are they at the moment and are they safe? Were they witnessed last night to any of this violence at home? Okay, they weren't. All right, it's wonderful. So at the moment, just to be sure, they're with your sister, they're safe in another suburb and they're going to spend the next 3 weeks there for school holidays. Okay. Diane, were any other children involved other than your own or have been involved in this violence at home? No other children have been involved. Okay. Can I please ask, are any other people involved in this situation? Okay, so it is a situation that's been between your husband and yourself only. There's no other children involved. And just to make certain that there's no other people involved. Okay. So it looks like at the moment, Diane, our main need is to get that arm assessed and your pain managed. In the meantime, you've said that you wish to go home. That is your choice, Diane. But I need to give you some phone numbers, some emergency numbers to take with you. I also want to confirm in an emergency, are you prepared to call 000 to protect yourself? You are. That's great. My advice is to call immediately if you fear for yourself and your safety or others, always in every situation. I'd like to actually ask and offer you an opportunity to create today a safety plan. Would you be interested in that? Okay. Yes, certainly I can explain what a safety plan is. It's a very simple document that we'll work through together. And what we're going to do is just make a plan for actions and steps that you would take if you felt your safety was compromised, if you felt unsafe. So there are sections that we'll go through where you will make sure that you have some money, some phones, bags are packed. You may even want to take some of those resources to the place that you intend to go to, whether that is your sister's or a friend, and have that set up in advance. Having a code word set up with a friend that you can ring that lets them know that you're actually in an unsafe situation is another part of the plan. I can take you through that and guide you, Diane, and have that done today. Okay. That's great that you want that completed today, because I do feel it's essential at this stage. I would really like to ask if there are any other services I can assist you with. Okay. So you're not interested in any ABOs or legal assistance at this stage. I hear you, Diane. That's okay. It's always your choice, Diane. What I can do, though, is offer our services and another appointment to continue this evaluation and continue the support and assistance. Would it be possible that I can actually make another appointment with you after we make your doctor's referral and appointment to come back and see me? Okay. We can then review the week for you or the days between and how you're going, okay, and look at other supports that might be needed. What I really want to do at the moment, though, Diane, is just congratulate you on making the first most difficult step, and that is seeking support. You've done the right thing by coming and speaking to someone today. And what we'll do is I'll make the notes and the documents that we need to. As I mentioned, all notes I've made today, you can read. This is your health history in your file. I've made notes, but they're yours to look through at any time. What I will be doing at the moment is booking you another appointment, and we'll be looking forward to getting to the next stages of support for you. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Diane. Let's get these really urgent appointments happening for you. Okay, so hopefully I gave you a bit of a rundown of what we're looking for. Okay. Hello, my name is Karen. Oh gosh, still going. Hang on a second. Let me stop that. We don't need it twice. Dear me. Okay. What do you think?
It was good.
So again, just very quickly, the points that have got to be made there is validating, confirming that it is abuse, checking for children, checking for people, confidentiality. I'll breach it if you're not safe. How safe are you? Yeah. And you're going to jot all that down. Shanika?
I had a question regarding the role plays. Do we still have to do all 3 of them?
Yes, at this stage, if you come to be assessed with me, I can do Q&A on the other 2. So that's what I'm going to double check as well. But at this stage, we should be able to do 1 fully, but then I shouldn't need to see that same intro. I'm in an office, it's well ventilated, it's hazard free, privacy and confidentiality. I'd like to be able to just do Q&A. The others do get a little bit more trickier. This is our first lady. It's much easier to see, and then they get a little bit more difficult. But yes, the others I can generally do a lot of Q&A. Again, what I've attempted to do by opening up the actual chat box, I've already got evidence, guys. So that's why I asked permission to use chat as a training tool. I now have evidence, Shanika, for these role plays in advance because I got you all to put your name down and document it in Word. Clever, huh? Saving you time. Getting evidence also for anyone who's watching who can't be here. But now, Dadi, whatever you put in, I already have it. So I've done Q&A as a class. Yeah? So I don't have to fill those gaps. So what we've now got to do is to decide, is anyone wanting to do the role play again? Did you see there wasn't much dialogue with Denise, and that was 10 minutes, and I was just trying to like robotically smash out duty of care. Yeah? So
Yeah.
who would like to play Denise for Damien? Anybody want to put their hand up?
I have a question, and I don't want to raise my hand and think that
Okay.
saying that I'll do that. Just to confirm, are you able to put those points that you rattled off before? They were quite fast.
Yeah,
Are you
I'm
able
about to go
pop in the
find them
chat,
for you while you're
the
doing
things you need to cover?
Yeah, I typed it out for you as well. So I was just about to go find it
Great,
for
thank
you. Yes. So who's Diane?
I can be Diane, but can you tell me what I should answer
Yeah,
this a little
so
bit first?
simply Diane has come willingly, made the own appointment. It has escalated. She still wants to go home. She feels in a safe situation around about a 3. But her husband used to just verbally taunt her with nicknames and derogatory things,
Yep.
slapped her, but just recently in the last month has become quite violent. The children are at her sister's and safe for the school holidays. So the only thing she really needs at the moment, as far as this role play is concerned, is she wants to go to a different doctor, not her home doctor. Lauren?
I can pretty much just say yes, no.
Exactly,
Okay.
which is why I
Yep.
tried to show you succinctly.
Yep.
I'm not looking for
Perfect.
Diane's.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
right. As long as I can just say yes, no,
yeah,
and
yeah,
whatever I will.
yeah, I'm safe to go home. Yes, I'll do a safety plan.
Yep.
Lauren, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'm just asking, do we have to do this in the class, or can I just record myself for
No,
the
that's
role?
exactly why I've done the recording. So it's anyone who wants to have an early night or needs to can now start doing their own videos. And I've done another recording next week. And so even if you can't make class, you'll see us do the paperwork in class, and there'll be a recording of me of the next case. And you can just know, okay, that's what Karen needs. Sweet as. So if you can't make class, you're not behind in your role plays. I was trying to think of a way to get it in the class, and then you can just video, Lauren. Yeah.
Yeah, and is this what we have to do for now on with the role plays? We can't just talk about, like, you know, last week when we got ticked off in our role plays, we didn't have to do recordings of ourselves.
No, you can do it in class. Damien's about to do it in class right now. So I'll be able to actually assess him live, and this will be good for the other people to watch. Last night after class, when we went off camera, I did 6 people off camera after the class. So if we keep the class rolling nice and fast, someone who doesn't want to be in the class recording can stay back with me. And then the last Saturday of the unit, come to that session as well. Yep. So you've got me as much as I can. Now we have got Damien, and we've got our, where's she gone, that moves around? There you are, Sarah. Okay, let's do it. Meet and greet. So make sure you just mention your office, mention your name, go for it.
All right. Howdy. All right, just quickly explain my environment. So I'm in an office setting. It's a professional setting. There are desks, there are computers, there are resources, phones safe and hazard-free, access points. There is duress buttons if need be.
Wonderful.
All right. Hi, Denise. How are you? I'm Damien. I'm a counsel with First Access. I'm here to support you today. And then obviously she's going to go, hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
So, you know, this is a judgment-free zone, and anything we talk about today will be confidential. And, you know, you need to not worry that anything we talk about will not go any further between you and I. So are you aware of that?
Yes.
Oh, lovely. So can you just tell me a little bit how I can help you today?
I'd just like to get some referrals for a new GP.
Yeah. Are you able to tell me, so obviously I can see that you've got some injuries here. Are you able to tell me how they may have come about?
They sustained from my husband and some family violence.
Yep. Okay. Well, I just want to remind you that we are here to support you, and you're not alone. And within this building and under our care, you are safe. Just want you to know, you're aware of that?
Yes.
Lovely. And do you know that, Denise, that this is actually domestic violence? And just before you answer me, I just want to reassure you that you definitely do not deserve this, and this is not acceptable in any manner. Do you know that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I just want to double check. So you've come in today, you want to get some referrals for other GPs and other services. And I've noticed that you've got some injuries to your arm. Now, you're saying that your husband, it was due to an altercation between you and your husband, correct?
Yes.
Right. And has it always been physical, or how did this begin, if you feel comfortable talking about that?
It's got worse in the last few months.
Yep. So just to double check, so it started off, say, with conversation, and then it has, after time, it has turned physical.
Yes.
Now, I can see the injuries to your arm look pretty rough. Now, I would like to organise to possibly get that assessed for you today. Would that be okay?
Yes.
All right. Now, just so you know, I can see that you don't want to, you would like to search through our GP services. So what I can do, I can refer you to a service of ours and a doctor. That way your husband won't be able to have any knowledge that you've been assessed, or any information that you give will not be available to him. Is that okay with you?
Wonderful.
All right. So just to confirm, I've just got your consent and your permission to be able to move forward doing that.
Yes.
All right. That's lovely. Thank you, Denise. Now, I just want to check your safety. So on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not at risk and 5 being the absolute worst, what were you in the moment? What are you right now, actually?
3.
Okay, that's lovely. No worries. And let's just refer back to the moment that you were unfortunately involved in this incident with your husband. What number would you say you were then? 1 being obviously you were safe, and 5 being the worst, and your life was being threatened.
4.
Okay. Well, that's terrible to hear. I just want to remind you that you are safe here, and I know this would be difficult to talk about. So just want to remind you that this is a safe place, and you are welcome to say whatever you're comfortable with expressing.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So just to go over our facts again. So last night you felt like as though you were at a 4 out of 5. At any point, I just want to ask you, have you ever been, say at 5, where that was the worst? You were at fear for your life. Have you ever feared for your life as well?
No.
Okay. All right. So we're just going to just ask a couple more questions. Are you comfortable continuing?
Oh, good
Yes.
job.
Yep. Yep. So we're just going to talk about, do you feel safe going home there today, or would you like to leave? Is there something we could organise for you? Would that be something you'd be interested in?
I would like to go home.
Okay, well, that is your choice. And I just want to remind you that this is your choice, what you decide to do. And we will help you in whichever way we can. And I just want you to know that through this, that your choice is paramount, and we will do our best to work with that. As long as your safety will always be our main and utmost priority. Do you know that?
Yes.
Lovely. I just want to talk about if there was any children involved, Denise. Do you know if do you have children?
I have children, but they are with their aunt and they're safe.
Okay, no worries. And was there any other children involved, say, or any other adults present during this?
No, not at all.
Okay, no worries. So just to confirm, so the children did not witness, and they won't be currently around there staying with their aunt, are they?
Yes, that's
Oh,
right.
lovely. Okay. So we're going to, considering that you are wanting to go home, now keeping in mind that you are welcome to reach out, and we are willing to help you out and get appropriate services for you to not be in that location. But given that you want to go home, we're going to get your injury assessed. So we're going to go ahead and organize that. And I'm going to give you some resources and some numbers to contact. Would you be comfortable calling 000 if the opportunity presented itself and it needed to be the choice you needed to make?
Yes.
All right, lovely. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through a safety plan. Would that be okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so a safety plan. So that's just a simple document. It's just basically going to be the actions you will take if your safety is compromised. That's going to be going through if you have the correct finances in place, which we can provide. We can help you with things like that. Were you aware of that?
I wasn't, but am now, thank you.
Oh, that's great to know. So even things that we're going to get, say, next of kin, we're going to get some contacts for you, whether it be your sister, that's the aunt that the children are staying at.
Yes.
Lovely. So we're even going to get something such in place, such as a code word, something that if you're in a position where you can't speak freely, but you do know this code word, that will alert us and your sister that there is a situation at hand and that it needs to be addressed, and to contact the appropriate services. Are you able to do that for me?
Yes.
Lovely. And just want you to know, I just want to reassure you that we can get through this safety plan today. It can be done today, so you can leave feeling reassured that you know that you have a plan in place, given that you want to go home, that there is a plan in place. We are contactable. We do have the correct resources at hand, and we will get you through this, just so you know.
Thank you.
Can I offer you any other services in regard to maybe contact the police in regards to maybe an AVO in regards to your husband? I know that you want to go home, but would that be something you'd be interested in today?
No, thank you.
Okay, and that's fair enough. I just want to remind you, it is your choice. And that is completely and utterly okay. We will work our way around that, and we will make sure that you get back to your life as soon as possible, and your children as well. While you're here, would you mind if we made another appointment just so I'd like to continue to follow up and just make you feel supported and make you feel that you know that I'm here. You aren't alone. And myself, if I'm not available, many other colleagues of mine are always here, ready at your command. Are you aware of that?
Yes, thank you.
Lovely. So you'd be happy to make another appointment today?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Denise. I just want to say I really want to appreciate and congratulate you on taking the step today to reach out, and the bravery that must have taken. It's not an easy ordeal, and anything that you've endured really isn't okay. And you need to be aware that this isn't your fault, and that we will make this right, and we will get you and your children to a safe environment at your pace that you're comfortable with. Just know you are not rushed, and we will do all we can. And all of what I've written down today will be documented for you to read, so you can go back over. I know this must feel overwhelming, so I will understand if you can't recall anything after the conversation. So I will make this information available to you, so you can go over it and be reassured, along with the safety plan that we'll have filled out. Are you aware? Just want you to know that you're aware.
Yes, thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Denise. And that's where I'll wrap it.
Yeah. All right, everybody, who's going to give a big clap? Good clap from the class. Yay, Poojan's clapping on there. There's Charlie. Now,
Sweating like a bitch.
I was going to say, I was nervous being Denise, let alone
Yeah.
being you. I was beside
and
myself.
that's why we've got to bring it into the class, guys, because it's
Yeah.
so nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
When I did my one in one go, because I actually couldn't bear the thought of having it recorded twice. I mean, okay, I've got to just do this. That's why, okay. Because as soon as you hit record, something happens. And it won't be, it does. Darty's nodding. That's why we've got to bring it into the class, back each other up, because I did every one of these recordings was just a one-off. I didn't practice. I just went, okay, go, because I just really didn't want to do that again.
Just want to say a big thank you to my Denise. Well done.
Yeah, Denise, you did so lovely.
Give it up.
Thank you.
What we're looking to do is encourage each other, support each other, get stuff in time. Mine will be very robotic, guys, because I'm just doing your checklist, which is why I asked you originally, how would you ask? Please personalize it. Damien had a slightly different slant. Please be you. I don't want you to copy a checklist. But Shanika, I'll be back in 2 seconds. You did ask about the checklist. So what I did for you to help you all, and I'm more than happy to email it to you. You can have this in front of you to help you. I wrote, obviously introduce yourself, the name, the unit. So Damien doesn't need to do that bit because I know what he's doing. He's in the class. But an assessor who sees it, you just have to say your real name. And I'm doing unit CHCDFV001 task 2, Denise. Okay. You describe your workplace. just enough is great. Doesn't have to be that order. And that's just what I'm really needing to see. Validate this struggle in your own way. Confirm it's not okay. Check for accuracy. Reassure exactly what you've just seen there. Who else is involved? Children 1 to 5. Because what we're doing now is we're actually assessing. You can't respond unless you get this information. But the main part is to get them to do a safety plan, support them, book the next appointment. Exactly what you just saw. I don't know
How did I go?
I don't know how you actually did that, but you actually did that exact list in that exact order, which is bonkers.
I wrote quickly.
I thought, did he
You
make
did
notes
really
or
well.
something? I thought, did he
Was
make
that okay? Just for
was ex-
feedback? Was that all right?
It was exactly those notes. So I was thinking, gosh, was he?
Yeah.
I thought you might have had a telepathic type photographic memory where
I
you
was
just
actually so glad he did it the same as yours because it was like watching it twice, but in their own way because I could think about what
and
I
it
saw. I
does
was trying
need
to
to be
remember
in
the
your own
numbers.
way, and that's the point we need. We don't want scripts. So where Damien was very natural and he felt the need to confirm at points, do that. This is about you guys. This is yeah, of course, Danny, you can do it. Anyone who wants to stay back, I stay a bit later if you need to get through. This is about you. This is about your tools. So a carpenter gets given, you know, a hammer and a saw, and he gets to learn how to use his tools. Yeah. So these are the tools you would use, which is assess safety for a violent situation. I need you to practice as much as you can and feel comfortable. The last thing we want to see is a video of you reading something. Embody yourself as a practitioner. And even if it's more clunky, be real, be you. You've all got so many different talents to offer, and that's what we're looking for, the checklist in your own way, more naturally, is what we want. Yeah. Shanika, no reading scripts. Apparently they're going to knock them back. Just letting you know.
Can I just confirm, did you mention before that if we're recording, we have to have someone else in our video with us? It can't be like us playing both parts or like cutting here and there between? Or...
No, so the new rules are coming in from ASQA. They're making it harder for us. So now what it is if it's read in a script, as an assessor, we have to say, do it again. So it has to be a natural recording, like Damien was having a conversation, a healing practitioner conversation. And I can't play the role, but I can assess while you are. And if you are recording, which I would encourage you to practice a record, you must have another human being with you. So previously till now, that's the reason I've done the recording just as me. Previously, people were putting in recordings like you just saw me do, a nod and do a pretend Diane. They're going to knock it back. Sorry about that.
Do we have to show their face? Or like, can we position the camera behind them so it's the back of their head and then the front of us?
Just so that it's obvious that it has another, yes. Do you have to show the other human? Not fully, but they have to be there and be able to talk as a natural. It needs to be as close to a simulation of a real counselling session. Ruth?
I've got a really bad cough. Can I be excused on this one and get another chance to do this same role play on another day? Because I just don't feel I'm capable tonight.
No. Anyone who doesn't feel well, you do have that last Saturday. And
the last Saturday.
You can come on the 24th.
Yeah.
And that's where you'll role play one. I'll Q&A you the other two, and you're done. So you can do it in one go on a Saturday. It's all I'm going to open up as many opportunities as I can.
All right. I might do mine on that last Saturday.
Yeah,
and I might leave it tonight if you don't mind, please.
No,
and say good night to everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Poojan, you've got a question?
Yeah. So I had done some 2 or 3 of those. I made 2 or 3 of the recordings for the role play, exactly the way you said, do not do it.
No, that's okay. Have you put them in? Have you put them into
not yet. Nah.
Quickly do it. if you get them in the system,
Yeah.
if you've got them done, quickly
Yeah.
upload them. If
Oh,
they've been uploaded, I can still mark them on the weekend. So
okay.
that's the heads up. If
All
you've
right.
got them, quickly Pujan, get those assessments in. The
All
deadline
right.
for uploading is Friday night, but
Oh,
it doesn't
okay.
mean that I can't do them I'll mark them on the weekend for you.
Thank you.
And the other thing we're doing is we're doing a week's grace just for everybody at home. So let's say, Pujan, you don't get it until Saturday morning. I'm not going to knock you back for a week, guys. I will pick up the phone and say, hey, buddy, great start. Now I'm going to do a Q&A, and I'll actually fill in the gaps with you. So there'll be a week's grace where we can actually help you. If you have gone to a lot of trouble and it's got a gap, I will pick up the phone and I'll help you get it across the line. Damien?
So I just want to confirm. So now that I've done it, so that's my recording.
Yes.
Yep. So that's me done for that.
And then I can Q&A you with the others, or you can do a full one if you want to keep practicing your skills. And that's the thing you want to do.
Yeah, sure. So I don't need to worry about submitting a recording for that.
No,
I just
I
need to
will
submit.
send you the document and you'll submit it instead.
Yeah.
And then it's a matter now, what we want to do is get in and do the safety plan, guys, and the referral, so that way you could be done. But
Yeah,
if you feel pretty confident with those and you want to have it early night because you're ahead, go for it. You said
Are we doing the safety plan and the referral after this conversation? Like after
yeah, right now we'll check out what our Diane has to say here. And then oh, you're on mute again.
I'm just wondering, could I post my head on your head and then just change voices and then I've passed as well?
Then put someone else in the background.
Yeah, I'll just make Damien Denise and I'll just pretend I was Damien. Is that possible? If I can do a
Let me get my wig.
I'll Q&A you the gaps for a week. Michelle,
that'd be
what's
great.
your
Oh, no. I started this late tonight because although you saw my face on the screen, I couldn't get any volume at the beginning. So for me, when I've done this today, are we supposed to be doing anything as in reading through other stuff as well as you talking? Like, is this in the package that I can find now?
Yes, so when you go to your assessments, it'll have a whole role play scenario. And it'll explain things. It'll actually explain as well that Diane feels it's her fault, that she's lost her self-esteem. She thinks she deserves it. So some of the things that I chose to say is because I read the role play. That's where I said, you don't deserve it. Nobody does. It's not your fault. It's actually in the role play. So what you want to do is after tonight, everybody go back to your task 1, start filling in some of your questions. Start looking at role play, either start videoing or look at coming and doing them on the Saturday. So what we now need to do is start to look at the safety plan.
Okay.
So what we can do, everybody, is obviously you're going to put Diane here and the signature. Provider's name we're going to have is your first access. She's going to actually sign off for sharing for the referral. Okay. And then what we're doing, hang on, it's the bottom of the safety plan. Let's get up the top. Name, age, presenting issues. That's where you're going to write down about her broken arm, and her priority is the management of the pain and having a referral to the GP. And then do you need to leave your home quickly? If you go, and just start to fill this out. So what I'm going to do is ask you to all go into a breakout room, and you can all put this on your screen. So I'd like to make sure that everyone can look at it and you can start to actually fill it out together. So I'm going to stop sharing. You can actually fill it out right now together. So I'm going to stop the recording for the people at home, and I'm expecting you people at home watching, the learners at home, get onto your computer. We've shown you how to get onto First Access. We've shown you what you need. Please get on your computer right now in real time. It'll take 5 to 6 minutes. and then hopefully you can get through with your friends. So I'll stop recording. Please do yours now.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Okay, so we've been doing homework together as a class, and now Damien's going to give a rundown of how the referral form has been filled in, and hopefully this assists you. Go for it, Damien.
Lovely. So obviously we've got client details at the top. First name, you'll see in the instructions that there's 2 first names. I don't believe it'll be an issue. I've just chosen Fleming, Diane Fleming, to be her name. But you will see if you're confused, there is a different name down the bottom. Lagunitas seems to be the second name. But in regards to that, the address, phone number, and primary contact are what you want to use for her contact information down below in the role play participant instructions. So I've got first name Diane, family name Fleming, the address, which you will find in that instructions, 56 Jalandra Street, Gladstone Park, Victoria, followed by some contact numbers. Primary contact, Joseph Lagunitas, his contact number, father, all that information is available on that role participant instructions. Just so I won't need to go through, you'll be able to find it there. Referral information, I have put details of client problem / inquiry. I've got domestic violence resulting in physical abuse, injury to arms / face with specific extensive damage to left forearm, possibly broken. Full stop. Inquiring for referral for for medical assistance, supports, and resources. I have put in brackets, does not want to leave home / living situation. Reason for referral, assistance with broken arm. In other notes, I did make it, I did want to put it down again, and not in capitals, want to leave current living situation. Records need to be kept confidential to client due to DV situation.
Fantastic.
And I'm yet to fill out the referrer's details, but I'm assuming that's just going to be, name would be like your own name, like first access, your phone number, email, my relationship to the client, and then my signature.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
See how it was very to the point. It was well described, but with facts. So there's nothing emotional that ever goes on a referral or a plan or an incident report. So that was spot on. We're also not wanting to elaborate. It's not, and I'm thinking this or assuming that. It was just very much straight to the point. It was an assessment.
Yeah, factual.
Very factual and brief. You don't have to elaborate. And she's thinking this.
Yeah.
So it's a handover of the facts of the situation and what is required, and that is then up to the next professional. Well done. Does anyone want to just discuss any part of the safety plan they found difficult to do, or have you found doing the safety plan pretty easy? Michelle, how have you gone?
I haven't done the safety plan. I did the referral as well.
Oh, great. Have you got anything about the referral you'd like to add? Have you worded it in a slightly different way? Because we all do approach things differently.
The only things I put on there as well is safety plan to put in place, and I put on there other information and guidance. That's all I've actually put on there. I put the other things that Damien's mentioned, but they're the only other extras that I've put in. Yeah.
Perfect. I don't think we need any more, but that's great.
Yeah.
So how about we kick on? So I'll just stop the recording and give you some options. So we're going to continue with the last few slides, and everyone's going to keep probably going with their safety plan. Okay, so I'll take us back down to the last few. So where we're at now is legal and ethical considerations. This will be on the recording. Just so you know, we have question 3 is regarding duty of care. So I just want to give you a description of what duty of care is. And when you get your questions for task 1, you can actually fill in this description for question 3. So your obligation as a professional for duty of care is for the mitigation and preservation and safety for yourself, clients, and all involved. And in some cases, that might be in other employees. Duty of care, you've also got to keep privacy and confidentiality. The other thing for duty of care, what you have is you must look for dignity of risk as well. Human rights is question 9. And what we're looking there is that the Australian Human Rights Commission Act 1986 states that all clients must be treated with respect and dignity, and the word is all. So we are also to give all clients equal access. So to services, they must have equal treatment and equal support. Question 6 is on discrimination, and that's where we as workers are legally and ethically, we must apply a non-discriminatory approach. We accept that the client has different cultures, practices, beliefs, and customs, and we do not put our biases or judgments on to that client. We offer them our respect and we accept them as an equal. We don't refuse access to anyone for any reasons, not on gender, not on sexual preference, not spiritual beliefs, customs, or culture. And for discrimination, the legislations, we have Age Discrimination Act 2004. The Disability Discrimination is Act 1992. Racial Discrimination Act of 1975. And the Sexual Discrimination Act is 1984. Now we have legal and ethical considerations here, and question 4 is in relation to mandatory reporting. And a mandatory reporter is a term that we use, and that is for a person that is by law enforced to report any child abuse, neglect that they think is suspectful, likely, possibly might happen. It is not that we report after an incident has occurred. We must always report every incident that we know of that has occurred, but we are mandatory reporters to actually report in the event that it is a reasonable suspicion is the terminology. So we have to report if we have information that we feel is possible. So it's about prevention of abuse. Privacy and confidentiality is something that you are always going to talk about, and that is that we hold all information given to us. It's private and confidential. The disclosure part is that we only ever disclose if there is a threat to somebody's safety, the clients or someone else. Or record management, you can describe that that is always kept private. If it's actually paperwork, it's in a locked cabinet. If it's actually in computer orientated, there will be passwords, there'll be code words, it'll be decoded. So now we have the legal and ethical considerations that you also have in your quiz. Question 7 talks about explaining what a work role boundary is. Work role boundaries are where we maintain a professional relationship with our client. We can build rapport and be friendly. You do not become friends. A professional boundary is in place for relationships. Therefore, you do not have sexual relationships. You do not socialize outside of your professional role, including on social media. So we're also not loaning money or exchanging gifts. Rights and responsibilities is often explained to clients in paperwork when they begin with us. And that relates to that our clients have rights and responsibilities, and that is to turn up for their sessions that they have booked, to treat us with respect and dignity. We have the rights and responsibilities that we also will treat all of our clients that we support with respect, dignity. We will maintain a professional, unbiased, non-judgment, and that finishes out. Workplace health and safety is a legal consideration where we have to have a safe, hazard-free environment. Workplace health and safety now, though, actually does cover psychosocial hazards. Every larger company has to have workplace health and safety for physical hazards and also psychosocial, which includes bullying, harassment. So that has us nearly finished the slide. Support processes we discussed earlier on, and that was in relation to what supports are we going to have in process for us. And that is that we will have performance feedback from our supervisors. There'll be debriefing, hopefully one-on-one and hopefully group debriefing. There'll be training and development that will be ongoing for us as support, and hopefully we'll have a permanent supervisor. That might be our manager, but the supervision might not be. It might be a team leader. Historically and politically, there's been huge changes in legislation. There weren't particular laws in place that actually protected people from domestic family violence. Now we've got progression that laws are coming into place for coercive control, which is amazing. Community awareness is a main priority, and that is that we've had a lot of prevention programs in place. The government's got some in place at the moment. In particular, one of them is in Queensland. Every single police station in Queensland has an actual allocated room that they have set up as a safe room in a very comfortable manner for any families or people wanting to come and disclose and seek support. So they've actually been set up as domestic family violence interview rooms. So they have made them very soft and easy and comfortable to create a safe environment intentionally for someone to feel supported in asking for assistance from the police. Perceptions are now changing, which is wonderful. We have myths that we're about to do, but we've often had perceptions that domestic family violence was for people with low socioeconomic or intelligence, and the perceptions now are coming that it's not really that simple. We don't see people who stay as weak anymore. We see them as trapped in a trauma bond. So perceptions are changing. Triggers for change. We have got a lot of things happening at the moment and a lot of awareness programs. We've got things happening with celebrities speaking up, media speaking out, and it's now on social media. So change is occurring rapidly. Economically, we're talking in the billions. And what we're looking at for the economic cost is courts, relocation of housing, social welfare, police services. We've got so many different things that we actually have economically. We've got even just the relocation. Economics as well, there's destruction of property. So myths, we've got a lot of unhelpful beliefs and attitudes that are very outdated, and some of them, violence affects few women in Australia, is actually not true. It actually affects a large number of women particularly. Another, most people committing violence are under the influence of drugs and alcohol. That's not true. Yes, drugs and alcohol can actually be involved, but it's not most people at all. Users of violence are mentally ill is not actually true. Unfortunately, mental illness can leave you more vulnerable, but the users not necessarily true, but people have just categorized that. Stress and anger lead to violence. That is actually a fact. That is something that is known to be true. So now what we've got is the last thing that we've got to do is there was a research on myths. I'm about to come back to the group. and just ask them about any myths that they know of that we can debunk and get rid of, because they're barriers from us seeing the real people in real danger who need real support, if we're going to actually filter them through some myths that aren't true and correct. Does anyone else want to share any myths that they have heard of, or even maybe even once believed, that are in the way of us assessing and responding appropriately? Shanika?
That all perpetrators are men.
Yeah, fabulous. Michelle?
One is class, so it's not just the poor communities.
Yes. Damien? Sorry, I know I
Same-sex abuse,
Mhm.
female to female, male to male, that it's not just it's just in regards to even that scenario and that assessment, that you will know once you get to it, that it's like people, like a myth that, or an assumption that people make, that it's impossible that another woman could be physically abusive to another in a relationship, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got to always remain curious and alert for the indicators. And yes, Jen?
I was just thinking in the way of cultural beliefs, and maybe people thinking, well, it's accepted in their culture, so you know, that's their problem, kind of thing.
Okay.
be
So let that go by the by-side, because it's under the umbrella of their belief system.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have to bring it back to it's unacceptable in all situations. Thank you. So belief is not an excuse. Shanika, and then we'll go to Sarah.
That if it's not talked about straight away, it's no longer valid. Like if it was happened months ago or last year or something, then it needs to be reported straight away.
Okay. So if there's a time lapse, it can't be serious. Yeah. Sarah?
I was actually going to say that, but also that there was always a myth around like abuse between spouses, that maybe one of them deserved it or they provoked it. Used to be a myth for a long time when I was younger.
Must have done something.
Something to provoke them, yeah.
Yeah. So, Jen?
A common one is in a domestic abuse situation where the woman, for example, keeps going back to the perpetrator, and then people.
That was the one I was going to say. What's your slant on that, Jen?
I think in terms of people sort of thinking, oh, well, you're crying wolf in a way, and you don't really want help, or you don't want to leave the situation, your own worst problem. You're causing the problem, kind of thing, by keeping going back, and then maybe the person then becomes embarrassed and doesn't want to tell their friends what's actually happening anymore, and then
they then downplay it too.
Yeah.
They join the downplay club. Yeah.
Yeah. And they feel like they're to blame in a way, I guess, as well, because they do keep going back into that cycle.
Shanika?
That if the person being accused, male or female, is like a successful business person, that they can't be doing anything wrong, like they're seen so well within the community, they must be a good person.
Okay. So how they're seen as an image changes the interpretation of the event. Absolutely, it does. Sarah?
I think also that a lot of people believe that when women or men going back to it, that sometimes if they're financially secure, that they only go back for that reason. They want a lifestyle, so they continue to put up with the abuse instead of leave, because, for instance, they don't want to drop back to a 12 square home because they live in a 30 or 40 square home, and they think they'll lose their friendship groups, which is not always the case.
So complex, isn't it? Because what we've got to recognize as well is that this is domestic family violence. So family doesn't necessarily straight away, there's even a way that when we think of this, we think of a male and female marriage almost. But domestic family violence can actually occur from a parent to a child psychologically. So the name calling and the taunting can actually happen that a parent or both parents can single out a child. And then they'll just say, oh, it's just a nickname. It's just, so we often, when we first think of domestic family violence, because we don't think of emotional violence, your first thought hierarchy is physical violence, and we often think it's a marriage or a couple living together. We've got to really broaden this out because we're talking about domestic family violence. Therefore, we're talking about same-sex marriages. We're talking about, you know, all sorts of situations. That family might be, the violence might be happening. It may be that the grandparents have custody of the children. The violence can often be the youth, not, sorry, often, that's a silly word, so sometimes, can be the youth injuring the elderly. So it's not always that the actual most strongest person or the older person is the one that's dominating, but they could be being beaten up by their foster children. So we've really just got to recognize that the situation is complex. Sarah, you've got your hand up again.
I was just going to say, like in separated families, the psychological abuse from parents to child or child to parents, playing one off against the other, playing that scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even the child playing the parents off again, like to gain, is a type of abuse. They learn it from a young age, some of them, and they really do nearly put parents in a depressive state at times.
Yeah. There is something known as an incestual emotional affair. And if that happens, that's a child and a parent causing abuse for any other parent or child in that relationship. And it's also an actual abuse of each other's relationship as well. But incestual emotional affairs happen. So it's not sexual abuse, but it's actually, it's emotional abuse, most definitely. And so it's very complicated. And in that case, the favoritism can actually go against one of the parents who's actually under abuse, and so will be the children. And the whole thing is psychological, which we'll be discovering next week in regards to coercive control, gaslighting, because that one is very hidden. And I know people who've been through that, and it has lasted 30 plus years. They've had to walk away as an adult in their 40s because they actually grew up thinking that was also normal. They had no reference point. So I can see everybody's still smashing out the referrals and safety. So I'm going to say good night to the people who are watching us by recording. We, as a class, I think, did our best class we've ever done. I'm so proud of us. Everyone's been typing in the task. We've had people, Damien, thank you very much, sharing with us their knowledge from their assessments. We've done assessments as a team. You've got a lot that you can use tonight through the recording. So I hope that's been helpful, and we'll say good night, and we're going to keep role playing and assessing.